So if you have a set of rules that you follow when you do your shopping, it will save you so much time and money. Hi guys, I'm Eileen. If you're new here, I post a video every week about luxury and fashion, and it will be amazing if you decide to subscribe. So today I want to talk about my rules when I do my shopping. Now after many years of buying, selling and decluttering, I now realize I have a certain way of dressing, or what you might call a preference. And I'm sure it's the same for a lot of people. So if you can sit down and figure out what works for you, it will save you so much time and money. So my first shopping rule is avoid smooth leather on handbags. Now I know this might be a bit controversial because I know a lot of handbag lovers live for smooth leather. Now I have to agree that this kind of leather looks amazing, and it's also true that a bit of scratches and wear and tear can really add to the character of a handbag. But personally, I don't usually go for smooth leather anymore, such as the lambskin from Chanel or the box leather from Hermes. In fact, I only have one handbag in lambskin, and it's my Lady Dior. Now I have to say, the lambskin looks amazing, and fortunately it's not too delicate. However, I think I've come to terms with the fact that scratches on leather do bother me. Now I don't quite mind scratches on my jewellery or even on the hardware on my handbags, but I'm just really not keen on the look of scratched leather. Also, I just really prefer to have something that I don't have to baby, because I do buy handbags to use and enjoy. So for me, I will always go for the Chanel caviar leather over lambskin any day. And for Hermes, I will try to stick to Togo, Clermont and Upson. And because I prefer handbags which are more carefree, so when it comes to Louis Vuitton, the Damier Ebene canvas is often my material of choice, because I just don't want to have to worry about patina. Although I have to say, once the patina develops, it looks amazing. I am a big neutral lover. Now a lot of things in my wardrobe are in neutral colors, for example handbags, shoes and clothing. And I usually try to stick to colors like black, white, grey and beige. Personally, I think neutral colors suit my personality the best. Now I'm not a very girly girl, so usually I feel a bit awkward if I wear something pastel or bright. Now generally, I think if you have a certain color scheme for your wardrobe, it's just a lot easier to shop because you already have a preference, so you're not really buying randomly. And I think often it will save you a lot of time and money. Also, because a lot of what I have is neutral, it's very easy to mix and match, because generally everything just goes with everything else. So basically, I don't have a lot of things that I can only style in a very restricted way. So for example, I used to love red handbags, but for me, I always feel that I can only carry a red handbag if I'm wearing a plain white t-shirt with a pair of light color jeans. Now obviously that's only my preference, because I know a lot of people carry a red color handbag with absolutely everything and they look amazing. But for me, I very soon realized that a red color handbag would just not work in my wardrobe. So now a lot of my handbags are in black and brown, because I truly feel that I can wear them so much more, seeing that they go with absolutely everything in my wardrobe. Now I know some people might think that it's a bit boring to have a closet of a certain color scheme, but I think it's important to remember that you are dressing not to please others. So you want to go for something that will make you feel like yourself, something that will make you feel special and confident. So my next shopping rule is mixing metals is perfectly okay. Now I generally prefer yellow and rose gold for my jewelry, but I'm also a firm believer in mixing metals tastefully. In fact, I really like the contrast when different metals are worn together. So for example, I mix my metals on a daily basis. My wedding band is a half eternity diamond ring in white gold, and I usually stack it with my Cartier love ring in rose gold. Personally, I think they look lovely together. Now a lot of you might already know, a lot of my jewelry pieces are in yellow and rose gold. But that really doesn't mean that I will restrict myself to these two metals when I buy my jewelry. So if I think a piece of jewelry looks really good in white gold or platinum, that would be my choice. For example, my Hermes CDC bracelet. So I went for palladium for this piece because I think the palladium hardware really complements the shade of this leather. Although usually I do prefer rose gold from Hermes. So same goes with hardware on my handbags. I will quite happily carry a handbag in silver hardware even if I'm wearing all my jewelries in yellow or rose gold. My next shopping rule is mixing labels. Now, although I love luxury items and fashion in general, I also really like mixing labels. So I'm referring to mixing high street with luxury items in your outfits. Now, I don't believe that you have to get absolutely everything from the high-end fashion houses to look good. In fact, I think mixing labels can create a very unique and personal look. Now, I've spoken about this before, but I generally like to save on t-shirts and jeans, and when it comes to handbags and shoes, I will usually go for the designer options. So in terms of clothing, I really believe that you can still get good quality pieces from the high street stores. But before I buy a piece of garment, I usually try to check a few things just to make sure I will not have to replace that piece of garment in the soon future. So for example, you want to make sure the zipper is smooth, the buttons are all good, and the stitching is well done, and that the material is not too thin or too sheer. So personally, when I'm shopping for basic pieces like sweaters and tops, I will go for Uniqlo and COS. I really think they make some amazing pieces at a wonderful price. My next shopping rule is always look at the care instructions. Now, when you buy something, I think it's a good idea to always ask yourself if you can care for that item properly to make sure that it will last you a long time. So for example, I love cashmere because it's very light, breathable and warm. But a lot of cashmere pieces do require dry cleaning, and that really is not my favorite chore. So last year, I started looking at the machine washable sweaters from John Lewis, and that's such a game changer. Because for something like a sweater that you are wearing very close to your body, you will be cleaning it quite a lot. So if I do have to rely on dry cleaning, it's gonna cost a lot of money. Now, I still buy pieces that will require dry cleaning, but I'll have to make sure that I really love that piece so much that I don't mind doing the chore for it. Another example is suede. Now, I love wearing suede shoes, but if you do get water on this kind of leather, it will leave a mark. So I usually make sure I spray some leather protectant on the leather. Basically, the spray will form a water-resistant coating on the leather. Now, I'm quite comfortable spraying that on my shoes, but I will really hesitate to spray it on a handbag that comes with a hefty price tag. And because of that, I tend to stay away from suede handbags. My next shopping rule is what I call the 10 years rule. Now, when I add something to my wardrobe, I try to consider if I will still use and love that item in 10 years, or if that item will still be suitable for me when I'm 10 years older. So I usually like to go for classic pieces, and I'm sure a lot of you already know that, because these items do really stand the test of time. Therefore, I will not feel awkward wearing them in 10 years to come. And essentially, I just don't want to have to keep buying a lot along the way. Ideally, I want all the pieces in my wardrobe to be able to last me for decades. In fact, many pieces in my collection have been with me for quite a number of years, and I still love them as much, if not more. However, I understand that changes do happen in life, and sometimes the 10 years rule might not apply all the time. But for me, I do try to refer to this rule as much as I can when I do my shopping. Now, if I decide to add a piece of clothing to my wardrobe, it has to fit me perfectly. So if it's too small, too big, too long or too short, or anything that will require a bit of tailoring, I will not buy it. Now, in the past, I've had clothing that I hope one day I will bring to the tailor, but for me it's just too much work. So now, if it doesn't fit me perfectly, it will not go home with me. Now, this rule might not work for everyone, because many times a bit of tailoring can really bring out the best in a piece of clothing, and it can certainly add a lot of character to the clothing as well. So what I'm recommending is be honest with yourself and ask yourself, is it worth the hassle, or would you buy something that looks like it's been made for you? My next shopping rule is less can be more. Now, I'm not someone who aims to have a huge collection of anything. I've always worked towards having a decent collection with pieces that I can wear a lot, and I usually try to go for good quality pieces. So I think the concept less is more applies to many parts of my wardrobe. For example, I do splurge on shoes, so I love buying designer shoes, especially flat shoes. To me, I think they are well made, comfortable and can last a long time. And generally, I think many times the design is classic and timeless. So most of my shoes are in neutral colors and I think they are very versatile. So even though my collection is quite humble, I feel like I can style them in many different ways. So to some people, my collection is very small, but to me it's really working perfectly fine. Same applies to jewelry because I usually prefer to pay for fine jewelry. I just think they are well made, they can last longer, and you can even pass them down to your children. And generally, I would prefer to pay for precious stones and precious metals. Now, of course, fine jewelry is not the cheapest, so again, my collection is quite small. So quite often, you'll see me wearing the same pieces again and again. And to be honest, I quite enjoy that because mixing and matching requires very little effort. So that's my video about my shopping rules. Now I find that if I stick to these rules when I do my shopping, I save so much time and money because I have a very clear idea about what I want for my wardrobe. So I hope these tips are helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Have a good day.